I'm still here talking with Matthew Fox, and we're going to be talking about General Evaluators, or Master Evaluator as we call it in our club. Now, I want to talk about evaluation process. Many years ago when I was working in a job, I got evaluated, and typically when we evaluate people, we just assume that we're going to get a great evaluation. And when I was in this company, I thought, I should get an excellent evaluation because I did my job. And in reality, I got satisfactory. And I was curious why I got that in the evaluation process. And I took it to my uncle who evaluated people in the business world. And he goes, well, did you show up an hour early? Did you stay an hour late? Did you generate the reports that you need? And he listed like 5 things. I'm like, well, no, I showed up. I did my job. I left at 5, got there at 8. I did my work, but it was not that great achievement. Now, in Toastmasters, we pat people on the back all the time, especially the sergeant at arms and the president for, good job, you started the meeting on time. Well, in reality, that's their job. To have their room set up, that's their job. A contractor, John Holmes out of Canada, basically says if you're meeting code, you're meeting the bare minimal. You're not exceeding. So should a general evaluator come in with that concept of saying, well, here's the standard. If you're going to be a successful club, you really should be here, and they should kind of look at the roles of the basic role that a participant is playing and going, okay, you're not great, or is that being too critical of a club that is basically a bunch of volunteers learning a role or playing a role?
It's a tricky question because you're right, and I'm glad you mentioned the volunteer piece. It's an all-volunteer organization. Anyone that you see at a Toastmaster meeting, at least around Chicago, I've never heard of them getting paid for doing anything related to Toastmasters, whether it was Sergeant at Arms, the president, or even our trio, the 3 district leaders who they're running a business, the business of Toastmasters in Chicago, and they volunteer. It's like contests, and I hope that everyone at least pushes themselves outside of their comfort zone to experience a contest, so that way you can see what that next level is about. Because anyone can go in and they can give their 10 speeches. You could even go in and give, I think it's 30 or 40 speeches along with the leadership side to get your DTM, and never really do anything beyond what's in the manual. And you're a DTM. You are a distinguished Toastmaster. But there really is an opportunity, and it's something that I encourage people to pursue, to at least try for the next level. And it doesn't have to be going to a contest. It doesn't have to be trying to win the world championship. It could just be trying a different way of doing a timer roll, trying a different way of doing an ASO grammarian roll, trying a different way of doing the general evaluator roll. And to me, the way you can find out different ways to do those is, one, it's great in this information age because so many people have access to video, and a lot of clubs are videotaping their meetings and putting them online. You can find speeches, you can find different roles that people are doing all online. Even better, in District 30, to highlight one of the great programs that our district has, it's a club ambassador program. And you can actually go around and visit different clubs and get credit from it. Now, I've learned almost as much in my evaluation experience as I have by visiting other clubs, because you have that bubble that I talked about before. It becomes reinforced the longer you stay within the bounds of your club. But once you start to puncture the bubble a little bit and step outside of it and see what other clubs are doing. When I went and visited that club in Los Angeles, they were pretty similar to a Toastmaster club here in Chicago, but they were just different enough that it gave me all sorts of ideas that I could take back to my clubs. And the same happens around Chicagoland all the time. Talk to the trio, talk to other members, network, go to district events. That's how you get exposure about the wide world of Toastmasters, if you will. And so I really don't think it's a requirement that anyone tries to go to that next level. I think it's important for people to do it, but it's a personal choice. We're volunteers. If you want to go in that direction, I guarantee you're going to grow. You're going to become a better Toastmaster. And it's arguable that you'll become a better person at the end of the day because you're exposing yourself to new things. You're growing, you're expanding, you're stepping outside of your comfort zone.
So basically, don't whip the volunteer. Be nice to them, and remember that it's a growing process.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your input on this because, again, I feel for clubs to improve, I think they need to have strong, let's put it this way, if good speech evaluations create good speakers,
Mm-hmm.
good club evaluation, in theory, should create good clubs.
I agree. I mean, if I would put District 30's clubs up against most others in the world for the quality of the clubs that we have, especially our advanced clubs. At Orland Park, I know, is a phenomenal club when I visited it. And the more we stretch out, the more we see how other clubs are operating, and we take the best from those clubs and bring them back to ours, it makes us all better. That's why we do training twice a year. That's why I've invested so much of myself into president's training. I've written case studies on different challenges presidents are going to see just because I want all the clubs in District 30 to be better. I want every speaker to walk around and realize that they've got the skills to be successful regardless of the bubble or the situation that they find themselves in.
I see Matthew Fox being now introduced to a lot of clubs around the country going, come out, see our club. We're the greatest club. No, I know Toastmasters are nice people. You're not going to get flamed for that. But that, like I said, that is one area that I feel that sometimes gets overlooked, and people just assume that they come up and we're going to say the same old thing. And I like your point about going out and getting the world experience, going out visiting other clubs. And does it help to be a general evaluator when you visit another club? Or is it best just to come in there and see their environment before you say, well, I'll be your evaluator, and critique them on what your club does?
I encourage caution a bit when you go into another club. It's similar to going into someone else's house. I mean, maybe if you go visit with someone, you may say, hey, I really like how your microwave is set up in your kitchen. That's really cool. I never thought about putting it above the stove. Or, that's great that you have a key hook right by the door. I should do that. That way I wouldn't forget my keys so often. But if I were to say, hey, man, like this place, you got all these things you need to fix and improve, and it can be a little bit off-putting. You haven't built up any trust yet.
Okay.
So that, to me, I think just visiting other clubs, if you get to participate, that's a bonus. I mean, I didn't expect to give an evaluation when I went to that club out in LA. I was super happy I did because it allowed me to see if all the skills that I built up in Chicago actually translated to other Toastmaster clubs.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, just seeing what goes on. I mean, and it's at district events all across Chicagoland, whether it's a contest and you like how they did certain things at a contest, or I mean, there's so many wonderful clubs in Chicago that you could spend almost a year, easily a year actually, visiting all the different clubs. There's over 240, I think, right now.
253, I think, was the last count.
And I mean, imagine all the different styles and interpretations, and regardless of how good or bad a club is doing, there's always good within a club. And I think that's the piece is if you tie into that good and you can tap into a little bit of that when you go back to your club, it opens a lot of doors. I mean, I could go on and on and on about it, but I think the club ambassador program, I think all of that is a really rich experience. District events are great. I mean, networking, because you can't do and you can't conduct a Toastmaster meeting by yourself.
Right.
I've been in a Toastmaster meeting where there's only been me or one other person, and it's awkward. You look around, you're like, hey, what did you think of that speech? I don't know, man. I was too busy watching you. So I mean, that's the trick of it is the more input and experiences you bring in from the outside, it makes you a better, stronger, it makes you a leader.
Well, Matthew, thank you for your input. Thank you for taking the time out to do this. We appreciate it. And as I give all my guests, you're more than welcome to come out to the Orland Park Toastmasters. Anybody who hears this presentation, if you're a Toastmaster, feel free to stop in. We'd love to see you. Even if you're just a guy off the street who wants to know more about Toastmasters, we're a public club, community club. So come out, join us. And again, Matthew, thank you much. And I know I'm going to see you around the circuit somewhere at a Toastmasters meeting. Thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure, Dale.
Thank you.